I realize now that the monsters were never under my bed. I wasn't scared of them either. In one way or another, I had given them access to rearrange and disorganize my thoughts. I let each whisper enter my heart because when you feel alone, any company is welcome. And so I let them stay. No one heard them, no one saw them, but I felt them. Their names were depression and anxiety. Anxiety came first. He came into my life when I was really young, except I never knew his name until I was in high school when a girl in our health class described him. And her description fit his method of operation. And I felt seen. I knew I wasn't crazy. And so I came home that day and I told him, I know your name. I tried to make him leave, but every time an uncomfortable situation arose, he came back uninvited. I never invited him in the first place. I just let him enter and never closed the door. Once he was comfortable enough, though, he invited his friend Depression in, and that's when the door closed, except they had the key and I was locked inside. They came without asking me. It was all so sudden, but I knew sooner or later he'd bring someone else along, and they began to make a home out of me. Anxiety answered to Depression because Depression was in charge now. I tried to kick them out, but they were all I had, and I was attached to their presence because I had nothing else. No matter how many people surrounded me, I felt so alone, but depression and anxiety kept me company. One day, Depression began to speak to me when anxiety was away. He began to tell me that the only way they'd ever leave me was by leaving them first. He suggested I end my life before it was even my time. He convinced me that no one else would care, that everyone would just continue on with their lives, that my presence was the same as an empty room, void and insignificant, and I began to believe him. Day after day, he told me to do it, and day after day, I would listen. Anxiety soon began chiming into the topic, begging for my farewell to be soon. I laughed. Not even the monsters wanted my company anymore. But for some reason, I always heard a still and gentle voice call out to me, one I did not truly recognize, but the voice felt familiar. I kept trying to stay silent so that I could listen, but the monsters began to grow louder, and the voice grew faint. The monsters began to reveal their true nature, and my tears were the only things that saw the pain in my eyes, and even they tried to escape. One day the monsters got caught. I thought it was safe. They left for a while after getting caught. I thought it would eventually be okay, but they came back. And this time they came back stronger. I wanted to show a few people close to me, but they didn't believe in monsters, and they thought I was making it up. I mean, only kids believe in monsters anyways. But one day when my heart felt it could no longer continue living with their weight, I heard the familiar voice again. But this time I pushed down the monsters' voices with the little bit of strength I had left. And this time I answered back to the voice. He did not think I was crazy. He knew the monsters were real. In fact, he came after me to rescue me from the grip they had on my life. The monsters were always real. They weren't a figment of my imagination. It wasn't just in my head. I took his hand and accepted his request to enter because his presence felt different. And as he entered, the monsters had to leave because once he abides, they have to flee. I sighed in relief and whispered, I am finally free.